بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. I heard a story from my teacher once. He says that somebody asked Imam Muhammad rahmatullahi alayhi, who was the great student of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi, that you have written many books on fiqh, Jami' al-Saghir, Jami' al-Kabir, etc. Why have you not written a book on zuhd? What does zuhd mean? Abstention from the dunya, taqwa. That's what zuhd means. So he said those books of fiqh is the books of zuhd. That if you understand how to deal correctly with each other, your transactions, your buying, your selling, your nikah, your talaq, your itaq, how you deal with other people, if you get these things correct, then this is zuhd. Yes. So I want to mention a story. I'll surely go through this whole book, and I'm not going to go through in order because I thought the taqdeem, bring something first to show that this is the most important. So this is one of the most amazing stories I've read in some things that this is a really amazing story. And some things have a lasting effect on your life. You can remember, oh yeah, that thing changed my life. So this is one of those stories that I've read and it's like, I still can't believe this. This is one of the Taqwa, one of the most amazing stories of Taqwa I've ever read in my life. So this story is regarding Mufti Taqi Usmani rahmatullah, hafidhahullah, his nephew, Mufti Mahmud Ashraf Usmani rahmatullah alayhi. So his son, he writes, and he says that he's gotten the years here, but you don't have to worry about the years, etc. He says that in 1979, my father got married for the first time. Who's his father? Mufti Mahmud Ashraf Usmani rahmatullahi alayhi. And in that nikah, he says, kuch masail chal rahe the. In this nikah, there was some issues between my mom and my dad. And then eventually, in 1991, 11 years later, the nikah came to an end. So he actually got divorced. But then he says, so first point from there is that divorce, it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. Divorce is something normally, so obviously it's abghadul halal. It's halal, it's permissible, there's no sin in this. But of all the things that Allah has allowed, this is the most disliked thing. Because it has many grave consequences. Family, you have children. So as much as possible, try to avoid this. But it's also sometimes it can happen. The Prophet ﷺ, his companions, some of them went through divorce. Some of them said no compatibility. Sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily mean that if there's a divorce, that somebody has to be a bad person. So just don't get along. We don't have compatibility. We don't suit each other, or we tried, or something happened. These things can happen. So again, he says that he got divorced. But he says now, look at this. This is the amazing part. He says before, they used to live in Lahore, which is another city in Pakistan, and his father moved to Darul Karachi. So now two different cities. So now you have little kids. For 11 years, they had they got 4 sons. I don't know if they have any daughters. So now you have sons. So he says here that my father, Mustaqi Mufti Mahmud Ashraf Usmani, he would always try to make sure and ensure that the children remain connected to their mother. So even though he was living in Karachi and the children moved him to Karachi, he would always make sure that the children were connected to their mother. What happens normally? Then it becomes a game, and the children become the pawn in the battle between the divorced couple. Yes, and he says here, when we were younger, obviously divorced. So now he's not going to talk to his wife, his ex-wife, but he would pick up the phone, he would dial the number and give the phone to the kids. That you should talk to your mom, she's your mom. So after divorce, he's picking up the phone, and the young kids every so often, every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, whatever it was, doesn't mention details in here, pick up the phone and make sure that the kids talk to their mom, because this is your mom. You have to talk to your mom. And then after that, he says, when we got a bit older, 4, 5, 6, 7, we could write, we can make phone calls ourselves, and we all have a little small diary. So in that diary, at the front of the diary, the first number, the first page, whose number did he write? This is your mom's number. And he would make sure that they would phone. Yes, that every so often you have to phone. He would check, he says, actually check, ask us once in a while, have you phoned your mom? Have you phoned your mom? Have you phoned your mom? And his father was from Lahore, so obviously sometimes then the children would go back to Lahore. Now who's also in Lahore? His ex-wife. So he said, when we go to Lahore, when we would come back, he would ask us, when you get there, the first thing you do after getting you settled down, did you go first to meet your mom? This is a divorced couple. So he said, the first thing you do when you reach to Lahore was go and meet your mom? The answer was no, we're getting in trouble. He would tell us off. And then he would ask another question. That when you got there, how much time did you spend with your mom? And if we spent less than half the time with our mom, get told off again. That she's your mom. She has more rights over you and your grandfather and your other uncles who may be in Lahore. Why do you not spend more time with your mother? He would tell them off. This is the kids that you need to. We have been divorced, but your mom is your mom. You have to spend more time with her. And when you got there, why not go meet your mom first? She is a haqq. She has the most right over you. You should go and meet her. Are you following? Yes? And then he says, even when we got older, he would also, like, put this. Then he says here, so now they got married in 1980, they got divorced in 1991. And I mentioned before that he came here in 2002. I don't know if he came another time, but I know in 2002, he came to Leicester and had the honor of meeting him then as well. So when he came to England in 2002, how many years have gone past that divorce? 12 years, right? One of his ex-wife, his first wife, her brothers was living in London. He passed away in London. So when he got here, he went out of his way to ensure he goes to the qabr of his ex-wife's brother. That this is still a mamu of my kids, and this is still my. And then he went there. They went to the grave, etc. And then when he got back to Lahore, he phoned his ex-mother-in-law, because now she's still mahram. And he told her that I went to the grave and just to know that how he was. And he gave them, he informed them of what happened, and know that people still go there, salat, they do istal, etc., etc. So that at least she feels content that my son, where he just. So after divorce, 10 years afterwards, he still looked up and considered that this is something that this is now. We still have to keep good connections and good ties. Are you following me so far? So far? This is it. Taqwa is when you I'm happy with you, you're happy with me, assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, and I smile at you, smile at me, say mashallah, you smile at Muslim brothers, reward, it is reward. But that's very easy reward. This is what he saw, wow, whatever it is, like wow. And he says later on, the son is writing this, and he says, हमें आज तक मालूम नहीं कि वालिद साहब की पहली शादी किस वजह से टूटी. It's been 20 years, until today we have no idea why they broke up. And it goes 20 years, and we have never once did my father mention that this happened. This was the reason. And when we went to visit our mother, never once did she mention anything bad about your father. So to this day, we just don't know what happened between mom and dad, and they're broken up, they're divorced. But this day, just look as if, there's just two people or distant relatives who are not mahram, like cousins, or thing that they just do that. So to this day, we don't say, it says, but even once, we have never mentioned anything there. We don't know who done what, it's just, this is your mom, this is your dad, we don't live together, we've been divorced, and this fulfill everybody's rights. And then he says here, after 25 years, then he passed away about 2021 or so. He goes in 2018, so he was alive. So his father was still alive, and his son passed away. And his son was had gone back to Lahore, I think, I'm not sure. I don't know all the details of all the thing. So obviously the father would get inheritance. The son, and they had some books, I don't know if they're rich or wealthy or not, I don't know. But he had some inheritance, the father gets inheritance 1/6. So he goes, when he went there, he just took one thing as a memory. From the inheritance, he just took a very choti si cheez, like a memory that says my son's book or his mushaf or his kitab or something that I can remember my son. And everything else he said, this is for the wife, the ex-wife, that, we live together and this is thing, so this is now, all my share of the inheritance of my son is yours. You keep it. I just want this one memorabilia, whatever that word is, you know what that word is. Think to remember me, tadhkira, tadhkar. Do you understand? So now this is, when I read this, I thought, I've read many things about him. But this is now when you say that, when you do mu'amalat, and you have to deal with other people, and you deal in such a way, then you say, wow, this person is muttaqi. Tahajjud is easy, it's only your nafs. But when you have to interact with other people, buying, selling, transactions, you're angry, and you deal with this in such a way that you think, this is what you call the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a really, really amazing story. And we should do this all the time. Anything we have, you have. La qadar Allah, la qadar Allah, la qadar Allah. I hope everybody who's married, they always have a good relationship. But if la qadar Allah, something happens, then learn from this. That it doesn't mean that you have to go now and your job, divorce doesn't mean, it's not a lazim of divorce that you just go, you have to now make sure that you just destroy the other person's honor and blame everything on them. You have your children, it's very difficult. You have mom on one side, you have dad on one side. But say, okay, both are my parents. So they both of them have right over me. Whoever, even if one person is bayyin, very clear that they made a mistake, they made an error, and you can see it. They say, no, both of them are right. Their parents, your your grandparents on both sides, whichever side, they both have rights. Your uncles on both sides, your mamu, your khalu, they both have rights. This is an example of it. Talaq. You had, let's say, for example, you have brothers You have a dispute. Let's say the brothers, they have a business together, a company together, and they decide, I don't like the way you work. That doesn't mean that one brother is bad, the other brother is good. It just means that we just don't work that way. One person may be more serious, he wants to advance the business, other person says, I'm happy with what I have. We disagree on this, okay, this is fine. We can now say, well, we don't see eye to eye on how the business should go forward, but we've done work for 20 years together and we've worked far. Let's make an amicable way. We can now separate ways. You were employed somewhere, one place before. Now, for some reason, you're no longer employed there. You had to leave or you were fired. And they say, well, you don't have to make it your goal that you prove that I was dismissed unfairly and the other company or the other person, the employee was a bad person. This is now, sometimes we lose track of this, that this is also taqwa. That you control your tongue, you preserve somebody's honor. So let's say, for example, the husband was wrong, the wife was wrong. You say, well, she made a mistake or he made a mistake. We just keep that secret. It's okay, no problem. Allah forgive us as well. So this is what we have to do, mu'amalat. When we interact with other people, interact on kind of level like this. So the other stories from before his life and after his life are also other interesting things in here. But I thought this was one of the most amazing stories I've read. And I thought that this is something we need to share. If you can instill this quality in our life, in any chance, anytime you have to deal with anybody else, deal in an amicable way. Even if you have to break up, even if you have to part ways, even if something doesn't go right, if you don't get along, you don't see eye to eye, say, okay, it's finished. But don't let taqwa go. Yes? There's no point have a big imam and a big jubba and a big thawb, and then something, small thing happens now, it's like, that's it. Ghibat starts. And every tuhmat, every accusation, everything that happened in the past, everything is disclosed. What happened? You're trying to humiliate him, but all of your a'mal will go down the drain. You understand? So if you want to have taqwa, this is taqwa. So yes, the hajj is very important, Quran tilawah is very important, but this is when your real test comes up, the real test. That at this current scenario, it's very easy to slip. That you hold fast to taqwa and you hold fast to good character and good akhlaq. This is, Allah give us tawfiq to act upon, give us this kind of character and this high, we call it urdu hawsla, this high, wusat of zarf, your heart's open. This is amazing. Allah give us tawfiq. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. And that's why we study the stories of the ulama. It's not that they're going to tell us something new. For the Prophet told us everything. Khuluqun azim, sabr, shukr. But then as you see that modern manifestations, all right, this is actually, he's now manifesting many characteristics in the story. So the stories of the ulama are no new stories. You can't learn anything new. But you might learn, okay, this is how he managed sabr. This is how he done shukr. This is how he done tawadu. This is how he done talabul ilm. So the reason we read the stories of the ulama is not anything new, but it's just that sometimes you can get an idea of, okay, this is also a way of humility. This is also a way of tawadu. This is also a way of shukr, also a way of sabr. So you learn, this Prophet said to be good to your wife, so then it's done. No, but sometimes, all right, this is also a way that we can be good to our wives. This is also a way we can be good to our children.